The sound was faint at first, just a soft clunk, like something bumping against the side of the dock. I rolled over in bed and tried to ignore it, figuring it was probably a fish or maybe a loose piece of rope hitting the deck in the wind. But then came the dragging noise, a slow, scraping shuffle. That wasn't wind. I sat up and squinted through the dark, the only light coming from the moon reflecting off the water. I grabbed my flashlight and crept to the window overlooking the dock. That's when I saw her. Karen. The new self-proclaimed queen of the HOA. Blonde bob cut, tight expression, and, because of course, she had a clipboard in her hand. At midnight. She was standing inside my boathouse like she had every legal right to be there, her bathrobe cinched tightly at the waist, muttering to herself as she examined the beams, tapped on the walls, and scribbled notes. I blinked, not entirely sure I was awake. But there she was, barefoot on the wooden floor, peeking into cabinets, and running her finger along the window frame like she was doing a dust test. And that's when I saw the suitcase. Just sitting there, beside the door like a declaration of war. Not a small overnight bag either. A full-size rolling suitcase with a pink luggage tag and everything. She wasn't inspecting. She was moving in. I slipped on some jeans and went outside. The air was cool, the lake perfectly still, and all I could hear was the rhythmic creaking of the boathouse as Karen made herself comfortable. I knocked on the frame of the open door. She turned, startled, but only for a second. "Oh, you're up." "Yeah, funny how that happens when someone breaks into my property at midnight." She raised an eyebrow, like I was being dramatic. "I'm not breaking in. I'm performing an HOA compliance check. There have been reports of unauthorized modifications to your structure." I stared at her. "Karen, it's a boathouse. You don't have jurisdiction here. This isn't part of the HOA." She clicked her pen and started writing again. "The bylaws say any dwelling within visual range of the community is subject to board review. That's not a thing. You made that up." She walked past me, brushing me with her shoulder like I was in her way, and peered into the tiny kitchenette. "This could be brought up to code with some paint, maybe a French press. Do you have any intention of listing this on Airbnb?" "What? No. This is where I fix my kayak and drink beer in peace." She sighed, as if I had disappointed her. "You don't understand. These structures are underutilized assets. I'm only staying here temporarily, of course. Just until the board decides on the next step." "Temporarily?" I repeated, my voice rising. She nodded, already pulling a blanket out of her bag and draping it over the couch. "I'll only be here a few days, maybe a week. I brought my own towels." I'm very self-sufficient. I didn't even know what to say. This was so far beyond petty HOA drama, it felt like a fever dream. I looked around at my tools, my fishing rods, the little fridge I stocked with beer. It wasn't much, but it was mine. And she just waltzed in like it was a resort timeshare. "Karen," I said slowly, "this is trespassing. You can't stay here." She smiled, the kind of smile someone gives you when they know they're about to ruin your week. "I'm not staying. I'm protecting community resources. You should be thanking me." Then she closed the door, locked it, from the inside. That was the moment I realized I wasn't dealing with a neighbor. I was dealing with a full-blown HOA tyrant in house slippers. And this wasn't over. By the next afternoon, Karen had transformed my modest boathouse into something that looked like it came out of a Pinterest board, if Pinterest had a section for passive-aggressive squatters. Lace curtains hung awkwardly in the windows, blocking the view of the lake I used to enjoy. Solar-powered lanterns dangled from the eaves, casting warm glows over the water. She'd even put out a welcome mat that said, "Live, Laugh, Lake." I stood on the dock staring in disbelief. The whole thing felt surreal. She appeared in the doorway wearing yoga pants and a sun hat like she was at a luxury spa. "Please, take your shoes off before stepping on the deck," she called out to me. You're tracking sand and debris. My jaw clenched. Karen, this is my property. You need to leave. Now. She took a long sip from a glass of lemon water and leaned against the doorframe like she was settling in for a vacation. This is a shared-use facility now. The board agrees that since you haven't been using it responsibly, letting it sit idle for months, it should serve the community's best interest. There is no board. It's just you and two retired guys, who only joined because you promised them donuts. She ignored that. I've submitted the proposal to retroactively designate this space as a community wellness hub. Technically, I'm not even a guest. I'm an acting caretaker. Caretaker? I laughed. You're a squatter with a clipboard. She didn't even flinch. You should read the bylaws more closely. I tried reasoning. I tried threatening legal action. I even tried calling the non-emergency police line, but without an official eviction order or signs of forced entry, they couldn't do much. Apparently, Karen knew exactly how to toe the legal line without crossing it. But I had something she didn't, a better understanding of how the lake worked. That night, after she shut the boathouse door and the lights went off inside, I walked down to the dock with a flashlight and a quiet fury. I untied the two ropes anchoring the boathouse to the dock. Slowly, carefully, I pulled the mooring lines into the water so they wouldn't slap or splash. Then I gave the boathouse a gentle push. It didn't take much. The lake was calm, the current slow but steady. Within minutes, my boathouse, with Karen inside, began to drift quietly away from the dock and out onto the open water. I stood there watching it glide into the moonlight like a majestic floating cottage, trying not to laugh. About 15 minutes later, my phone buzzed. I didn't answer, but I knew who it was. And then came the real show. From across the water, a small voice echoed in the night. At first I couldn't make out the words, just panicked shouting, then louder, clearer. Hello? I'm adrift! This structure isn't anchored! I could barely contain myself. Another minute passed before the call to 911 happened. I only know because I could hear her through the open window yelling into her phone. Yes! I'm on a houseboat! Technically it's a boathouse, but it's floating away and I'm the HOA president and no, I don't know my exact coordinates. She was absolutely losing it. They'll never believe this at the station, I muttered to myself. Eventually, some poor deputy in a rescue kayak had to paddle out and retrieve her. I watched the scene from the shore, sipping a beer like it was the 4th of July. When they finally brought her back, soaking wet, red-faced and screaming about lawsuits, the officer calmly asked, "Ma'am, did anyone actually give you permission to be on this property?" She sputtered something about her authority and emergency jurisdiction, but it was clear. Her HOA reign didn't extend over open water. The best part? The deputy turned to me and said, "Next time, just call us before you set someone adrift, okay?" I grinned. "Next time, I'll build her a raft."